Comrades, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. I am Admiral Andre, and today we are doing a mission with our space shuttle. So thank you for your comments. I know I don't leave too much time for feedback because each time the next day I'm already busy with a video again. But it still helps me, so I'll show you that in one moment. So let's get into the VAB. There's a few minor changes we need to talk about and a few things we still need to do, but then we shall be ready. So comrades, you'll see this is the Perseverance test file. I made a separate save for this so I could experiment on it to see what would work the best for solving the problems that we saw yesterday. So yes, comrades, I also have to thank Strax Gaming again for the comment about the very top of the external fuel tank, and I have implemented the suggestion of just using the fairing, and I think that looks much better. I have to be honest, I think this, obviously we could still fiddle with it a bit, but I think this approximates the sort of gentle slope of the dome much better. Of course, we still have the little nose cone thing there with the antenna. I don't know what that is really. That's not technically an antenna, but still sticking out there, but just the very top of it. So I think that looks more like the real thing. So this does make the whole thing a bit taller than it should be, I think. Let's just have a look, comparing it with the again, the nose of the shuttle. We're now in the second compartment there, or the third one actually, beyond the second. It's difficult because I like this shape. I don't want to meddle with it too much more. I've tried it several times, but it came out looking even worse because it was too short. This way looks nice. It's a very gentle slope. If we could somehow hide this base of the fairing, that would work maybe, but I don't know if I could do that. We could somehow attach it more to the top of the tank there. Nothing is clipping there, and we can imagine this is just fitting over the tank. That might help a little bit with the distance there. Let's just have a look. It's barely noticeable. But I think I'd rather keep it like this, comrades, because this works a bit better. Also, if we have a look here, the very top of the nose cone on the SRBs actually fall in line with now where the, you know, that little bit of straight section on the fairings still is, because otherwise it clips into the base plate there. So that works nicely. I think so. This will have to do for now. Let's just save this now. Again, this I will rename this once we're done with all our experiments. But other changes that I've made, comrades, I've taken out, if you remember in the back here, we had the big fuel tank, the Rockomax X200, but we also had various small tanks like the baguettes. Now I took all of them out. We had 8 of them in the back here. So 3 of these is just over 1 ton already. Oh no, it's under a ton. Good grief, math is a problem. So 4 of them is just over a ton. So that was about 2 tons on the back. Now that we obviously lost there, so that's a good thing. Then what I've done is, and I know the shuttle never stored fuel in the front here, but again, that's one of those things. We could even possibly remove them, but I like them here for ballast, just to keep the nose in a sort of downward configuration. Otherwise we have too much tendency to flip. So they're here for now, and just 4 of them, so we took 4 out permanently. So that also makes the whole shuttle just over 1 ton lighter. And I think this definitely helps. It distributes more of the weight, so of the 2 tons in the back we moved 1 forward and got rid of another one. So it does help, it does make a difference there. Then in terms of the rolling back and forth, I looked around on the forums and sort of websites to see if anyone else had suggestions for that. And somewhere, I can't even remember where I read that now, someone said disable the various actuation toggles on these main engines here. So the pitch and the yaw I leave on, but the roll I've turned off on all of them. So we won't get that strange rolling around. Of course, if we want to do a roll, we use the flaps because they will still operate in the lower atmosphere. I was thinking also about turning the flaps off before the launch, you know, clicking so they're all disabled there. But then we have to re-enable them every time we get to orbit, which is just too tedious. And there's no way we can put that on an action group like 4. There's no disable the various actuations there. It's only deploy or extend or retract, so that's not what we want. So that definitely adds to the stability. The next thing I want to tweak is actually I want us to go back to the spaceplane hangar, just so that we can tweak those little separatrons on the bottom. Of the several tests that I've done now, I've seen that once these boosters detach, they tend to eventually smash into each other, and it's because the separatrons are not in line with each other. So we'll see the ones on the top, that's where they were. So I'm trying to move them down, but when I started doing that, I thought, why not just make the video now? So then I can do this on camera. Now let's just have a look again. Where would that be? Now I guess that is the midpoint where that one is situated on the top. Of course we have to now again move them around that. So obviously there's 4, so we can't have one in the middle. Hopefully this will help. Now let's just move them, and I didn't put them on the other side. It's always a thing I forget to do. Oh well. I still have to think about the payload for this mission other than just the orange tank. Well, the good thing is we can use the shuttle for various different things now. Not just sort of historical things. If I ever want to deviate from that, I can use it for anything else. So I think that's the right orientation. Let's just get the thing pointing the right way, the camera, so I can see what I'm doing here. There is one more thing that I changed, and I will mention that in just a moment. This is now taking all my concentration here. You know what, comrades, at the end of the day we're going to get the best appearance by attaching them here. It's because the surface is uneven down here, so there is really no optimal solution to that. And I think this still approximates the real thing. It had these nozzles down here, but obviously not too close to the exhaust there. Now we just have to move them down one at a time, in a way that the nozzle is free, but the separatron itself looks like it's embedded into the structure of the SRB. Okay, we're somewhere now. I think that looks good. And our ducks are sort of in a row there. Looks like it. There's some minor deviations there. Let's see if I move this one up a millimeter. Now this one. Not quite. Not quite. I think our ducks are in a row now, comrades. So now it's back to the way it should be. There is one more change that I did make, comrades, and I mentioned it in yesterday's video in the comment. In reviewing the whole situation here, it is very plain that once the 6 kickbacks burning at 100% burn out, the actual booster itself is no longer contributing thrust for a short while to the stack. It's actually taking it away. And I did a test here. I took the booster again back on its own, and I tweaked the various levels, and I saw that once you empty out all of the, well, half of the fuel on the half thrust ones, because by a minute they would have burned half, and all of the fuel on the full kickbacks, we see that we get a thrust to weight that's less than 1. So as soon as those 6 kickbacks burn out, we're actually losing thrust because of the SRBs. It doesn't last long though, only a few seconds, but I think it was noticeable in yesterday's video. You could see the speed drop as soon as the or the acceleration drop as soon as the 6 of them burned out on each side. So my solution to that is now maybe, well, here again we have to sort of reason our way out of it. There's now 9 of the kickbacks on each of the sides, so we have 18 of them now in total, which is a heck of a lot. What I've done there is I've kept the 6 burning at 100%, but then instead of having 2 that burn at 50%, we now have 3. So that's where the third one came in. Now, that in itself doesn't cause a problem for me. I was just thinking about, if we look at this thing logically, how much volume does this thing have and how much volume do the various kickbacks have? And I punched the numbers. I just used an online calculator in terms of the volume, and it seems, I don't know if I did the thing right. I'm thinking that I did, because this thing has a radius of 0.75 meters and those have a radius of, what would that now be, 1.25 meters, since it's 2.5. Then the length is obviously given to us down here, the width as well, but you of course have to cut that by half if you want the radius. And then I found out that we can only really fit 4 point something of these kickbacks into these boosters if we go per volume. Now that certainly seems much less than I would have expected, because we can fit 4 in there very comfortably and still have a lot of space left on the top. But I suppose it's because of the overlap that happens there. Now fitting 9 of them in is basically exactly double of what we should be able to fit in that. Now that could be considered cheating right there. However, this is where I say now we have to reason about this whole thing. First of all, we don't have a proper sized solid fuel rocket booster to work for the shuttle. That is a long-standing known fact. The kickbacks are not sufficient. Just compare the size of the kickback with the shuttle itself. I mean, that's not going to lift that. So then, of course, you have to sort of fit them together, you know, 4 of them or how many ever you like in a cluster on each side. But that doesn't look nice. This looks nice. But then we get the problem that the tanks now, which are empty, also need to be lifted. So we need even more of the boosters. And of course, this is especially the case if you use the 5-meter parts for the main tank. So the only salvation that I could think of, as I mentioned yesterday or the day before with the SRB build, is at the end of the day what we're really doing, or what we would do in the real world obviously, is we would take the fuel out of these kickbacks and put the fuel into the big SRBs. We're not using the casing or the hull, I almost want to say the empty shell of the kickbacks as well. So they also take space, you know. Obviously I wouldn't think they might take up double the space that we've calculated there, but that's one way of looking at it. So we don't have the full rockets in there, just the fuel, so that frees up a little bit of space. But the other thing we could reason perhaps is that we're using a higher grade solid fuel that burns more. I don't know. There's no other way around it, comrades. This is a practical thing again. So I'm just making sure that that is known so that it's very clear what's happening here. But I'm happy with that. You know, I wouldn't go and clip something into a full fuel tank or something like that just for the fun of it. This is, again, a reasoned decision based on what we have here and the lack of a proper scaled part. So with that said, I think we've reached our conclusion, comrades. If we have a look at the payload that I tested with, that's a full orange tank. And that thing, I have to say, was so stable during the launch. It was a big surprise to me, because obviously we saw how things were in the last video. And this comes just from turning off the roll and putting another booster on here and moving the weight around a little bit. Of course, the big fuel tank itself helps to stabilize us a little bit, because if we have a look here now, just look at the torque, for example. If I take this thing out, now we've got 700 kilonewtons on the top here. Obviously I would have to adjust the engines, but we have 4.3 kilonewton meters that's misaligned on the bottom. But if we add this, it stabilizes the whole stack. It actually makes the difference between these two much less. Now if I tweaked, like I said yesterday, if I actually rotate these engines, of course it will make the one less, but it will make the other one more. So this tank has a balancing effect on it. So this craft was made for moving stuff. So that's the thing. It actually does that function perfectly. Better than when it's empty. So there we go. Who knew? There's one thing I might also want to change. Now this nose cone here, this part here is obviously an empty structure. So I want to do here what we did with the Soyuz and actually put the parachute inside of it. I know, but the real thing had a little nose cap there that came off, and for us that's not practical. Again, I always am guided by the practicality of it. So I'll just do that. This is anyway pointless because we're not going to recover this stuff. But if you want to, at least you can imagine this little nose pops off and then the parachute will fire. We could try, of course, to put a... This is also something I've mentioned before. A fairing on these now. But that's going to look very weird because instead of getting this nice sort of clean line that moves towards the point, we're going to have the same thing that we have here with this base plate then breaking up that line, which I do not want. So it's something. I'm okay with that. So there we are. Let's go back to the VAB. Now, comrades, I think let's do a full flight test now. This is obviously not a payload for a specific purpose here. I'm also leaving these radiator panels for now. I really haven't tweaked that yet. That I guess is up to you, because whatever payload you might want to lift. Why are we having two of these right now? We're seeing this sort of weird clipping thing. I've noticed that with this orange tank. If you turn it back to the black and white, it doesn't do that, but if you do the orange, it sort of clips weirdly. Oh well, that's one of those things. Of course, we cannot change the color on this. This one we can. Somebody made a comment about that, saying they were quite sure that we could change the 5-meter textures, but we can't. There's no option for that. The 2.5, yes, and the 1.875, yes, but not the 3-meter parts, as you can see there, or the 5-meter parts. But in our case, that's not a problem. So yes, I might tweak the cargo bay a little bit at some point and of course share that with you. But I think we need to just do this flight test now. Now what can I do to make this more meaningful other than just a simple orange tank? Let me think. Let's find some parts here. Maybe something on in the category of structural panels. It's gonna look a bit weird. But you know, sometimes weird is good. Doesn't matter. This is just for the sake of it. So what I'm doing now, oh, that's not looking so good. Someone might know what I'm gonna do now, but it will become apparent very soon. This is just again for my own sake. Now how are we gonna do this part? I guess this will just have to be sort of approximated. Good grief, this is gonna look very weird. No, I'm trying to make a 5. How do we make a 5, comrades? I want to do a 500 on this thing, you know, just for the sake of the 500 subscribers. Well, the zeros would be easy. if they'll attach there, of course. We'll need some cubic struts here. And then let's use a smaller one. Two of those, and of course I have to move them a little. And like that. Now of course this tank is not going to fill any purpose, it's just there for the weight. So there we are. So that's the 5, the 0, 0. But how do I make a 5 in this thing? I'll somehow need to have a half of this, but there's no half sections like that. Unless... let's just have a look here. Come on. Sometimes it does this and it won't let you move anything else. Okay, that's good. I like this for the top. But now what about the bottom? What if we try and recreate that again? Then take this and that and then somehow just move part of it in. So it's going to have to roll a bit. Let's see, this might have to be much closer. Now what are you doing? Unsatisfactory. Maybe if I somehow now connect that. I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is just for the recognition. That's a 5-ish. No, but a 5 is the other way around. What's wrong with me? Oh man. Am I living on another planet? Must be. Must be the case. Why would I do it this way around? Good grief. Well, that will do. Now we just have to repeat this whole debacle. Oh, come on, play along. It'll have to do, comrades. It'll have to do for our purposes. Then one up there that we move in. Ish. Here we can take some serious liberties. This doesn't matter. There, and that's the most ugly 5 I've ever seen. But it works. It works-ish. Well, now let's strut this, of course, to the root part. It's what I've done now before. So, in this case, of course, the heaviest part will be dropped before we get rid of this tank. So, we definitely want it to be locked to the root part, just for that extra stability. Then, is there anything else? No, let's just take it like that. Close, and I think we're ready. Of course, now I just have to double check everything because messing around with stuff is usually messing the staging as well. But no, those are still down there. Okay, then we have that. Then we have... no, we don't want that to go yet. Then we have this. Now again, I can't see the data for the OMS system. So this is a pure guess because the center of mass is now going to be somewhere down there. Let's try that. Hopefully that will be good enough. So in this case, comrades, I'm now going to override our previous... no, I don't have to do that. I'll just say final shuttle perseverance. And save, and you will find it in the Dropbox, of course. So let's do this launch, comrades, and hope for the best. Who's the crew? It should be the full crew. Yes, it is. Okay, so things just have to stabilize again. I did add another 2 of these clamps to the bottom of the main tank. and 2 more on the sides of the shuttle, not on the tail. The tail is obviously not a very structurally sound area to attach such a thing. Now the tank itself here, if we have a look, I think it's the same as it was before. The bottom is empty, this one is empty, this one is empty, and this one is empty. It only starts there by the flow priority of 36. So it's just something to keep in mind. And that's now with the full tank there. So I think this shuttle is actually quite good. It's because we have so many solid fuel boosters, of course, but the real thing was obviously tailor-made to lift the shuttle and the tank, and we can't have that kind of level of tailor-made parts. So sometimes there I have to use other means, like putting 9 on each side. So anyway, let's do the launch now, and in this case I think I'm going to not speed it up, but I will put some music on again. The main thing is to look for the stability. I think I might just keep talking. So let's do the launch again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now it does move back. So in this case, because of the extra weight of the tank, I shouldn't have put it at 100%, but you see it didn't have so much of an impact. So let's throttle down. I want the thing to push us over, but you see there's so far no wild wobbling, gyrations. Let's hope it stays that way. Let's get the SRBs to push us over. Staying at 89. So of course here you don't want to make side to side movements now. You want to be as careful as possible. Just lock to prograde for the most part, and if it starts pushing you over, then you throttle up again. So yes, infinitely better, comrades, infinitely better. And this is exactly what the shuttle was made to do. So let's now boost to 100%. Don't want it to push us over too much, but the main SRB sections will burn out now. But I'm happy with this. Let's see if it stays. Don't want it to go too shallow. Okay, it's kicking us back. So now the rest will take over. We are dropping some of our acceleration here. Well, this is our speed actually, not just our acceleration, but it comes back almost a second or two later, so I'm okay with that. Without the tank, of course, the orange tank, it would not do that anymore, but instead of adding another kickback, I think we'll just leave it at that. So 0.6, it's slightly deviating us because it's still on the 89 mark, but I'm going to leave it there for now. Picking up speed there, we are very shallow, so I'll just put it back on stability assist if I can click right, just to try and level us off a little bit there. But there's no danger of re-entry heat here, I think, because we're going too slow for that. Maybe we did turn a little too aggressively there. But yes, the handling now, I'm not doing anything. I'm not pushing the controls or anything. Let's just stage, and we still remain very stable, and let's hope those things don't hit one another. That will not be good for the recovery of those boosters. Seems like they're drawn to each other, comrades. It might be necessary to tweak the thrust levels of the various separatrons, like make the top ones 100% and the bottom ones 50% or something. Not sure. In any case, we're going very shallowly here, but we're staying stable. You can see the thing is trying to correct itself here, but when you see it start to push it too far, then you know you need to go back to prograde. But in this case we're fine because we're still burning off the periapse as well. So there we do have some re-entry heating. Yep, we were too shallow, but this is very minor. At least we are still moving away from our apoapse. So the last time I did this with the orange tank, I found that actually we can get rid of the external fuel tank before we're even in orbit, because the burn tends to be quite shallow. Not this shallow, but we'll have a look now. Just get us above the 70, and then I'll go back to prograde, and then we need to flip over. Very gently. This will never work if you don't lock to prograde. So I think also now we can correct our deviation there, our 1 degree inclination, because now the aerodynamic forces are very weak. 104, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's aim for a 150 orbit. Let's pretend I didn't shut it down too early. There we are. Now, of course, what you can do is reignite the engines there again. Obviously, that's not what the real thing did, but we do have the option. But let's get rid of the thing now. And press 1 to turn off the engines. And press R to turn on RCS, and I to push us up and away from the thing a little bit. And now we just coast to our apoapse. And once we are there, we of course ignite the orbital maneuvering system. But you see, there was no struggling now to get the thing stable. So I'm super happy with that. It's behaving now. It's behaving itself. Okay, let's again put it just above the prograde. We don't have to do too much of a burn, and we're just over half a degree off. So that's certainly not bad and easily correctable. Okay, let's hope for the best here. Burn. It's pushing us up a little bit, so it's not quite balanced. I really need to see if there's a new version of the engineer. Okay, try and keep us steady there. It's a bit of a longer burn than I was hoping. Problem with this is also getting the thing now nice and balanced. It should actually be burning up to... not that far up, are you mad? Why did it kick me that far up? Anyway, I want to stay at 150, that's the thing. So then of course once you pass apoapse, to keep the apoapse figure from increasing, you have to burn above the horizon. You see now it's coming back down again. Let's not burn at 100%, it's not balanced. Okay, not that much, go back again. It does make life a bit more difficult not to have that balanced. Oh well, I'm not going to care about the circular orbit right now. But you see, it is quite easily achievable. Just have to balance those OMS engines. And there we are, comrades. We are in a low Kerbal orbit. Nice and safe with fuel left, of course, so we can return home. And with our payload safe and sound. Let us just get into the day side again. Actually, turn on the lights. Not gonna let them sit in darkness. We can also put a light in the cargo bay. That would probably be a good idea. Right, so turn around please and show me that payload. There we are, 500 subscribers. What a milestone, comrades, and a working space shuttle. So let's get rid of the payload. There it goes, and now press K to push us down, of course. And there it goes. Now this is not strictly usable here, but I guess if you have a claw you can still use the fuel from this tank, but there it is. So this is of course thumbnail. There we go, there we go. So now let's go home, comrades. We fulfilled our mission, and the challenge of course is always getting this thing on the runway. Let's not get our hopes up. I'm curious to see how it will behave during the re-entry phase. So I'm just going to F5 again before we do this, but let's roll around because I think that's what the real thing did. And burn. That's quite stable without the payload. It's not even really burning RCS too much. Okay, let's get this thing. Now we've learned our lesson before. We shouldn't push it too far away. We're out of fuel. Well, I guess our burn to orbit was not as efficient as I hoped. Well, that's of course the difference from the lack of baguette tanks as well. Now my question is, no, don't do that, please. Did we burn the baguette tanks as well? Yes, we did. It'll still make a difference in terms of our weight distribution because the empty tanks are still there and there's nothing of the baguettes in the back anymore. Let's just see where we're gonna land. So I guess that means if you're using a heavy payload, do make sure to burn your external fuel tank to the max, even if it's a bit ahistorical and you restart the engines. Still, again, practicality is the key word. We're probably gonna land in the ocean now. Anyway, close that thing. And I'm going to go rather shallow. Let's go for a 10-degree difference because it will of course increase over time. Stop right there and turn everything off. Turn the lights off. And return your seat to its upright position and your tray table to its upright position as well. Make sure that your windows are all open and you are buckled into your seat. So let's see, we're going up there. This is just due to the orbit itself. I guess about 20 would be safe. Really it makes no difference of course, but we don't want the heat affecting the windows. We're gonna definitely land at night as well, which is not what you want with a shuttle. This may end badly, but that's just because of my lack of proper planning about the re-entry. And heat starts there. Let's see, what's it like inside here? It's not supposed to be in there. Well, I suppose the flame is still going over the windows, so 20-degree difference from the horizon is not bad. Let's hope for the best. Let's watch this meter. This is like watching a nuclear reactor meltdown. You don't want that temperature to go too far from the middle. If it does, it's time for the RCS. It's looking okay. We should have a land landing, I suppose. Again, at night I can't see anything because of the mods. Don't think about it. What if we open up the tail? The 0 key is not working for some reason. Or it was, but it's reversed, so I'll have to fix that. Okay, maybe that will help a little bit to slow us down. Oh. Okay, I can easily still bring it down here. Let's just do this stuff very gently. Time for the RCS, I think. No RCS, it's still there, it's still stable. Okay, where are we gonna end up? Are we gonna die horribly on a mountainside? There's our Saturn 1B MEM MHE debris somewhere out there in the endless abyss. So we've definitely pulled our prograde upwards. That helps to moderate our re-entry as well. And now? Okay. Just wait for it to dissipate safely. Lock the prograde, please, and shut down that tail, otherwise we are going to slow down too much. And now it's pitch black and I can't see anything, so I'm sure you can't either. You just see the outline there. Now this is scary. This is very realistic, I think. Obviously we're not seeing city lights here, and I don't know what the reason for that is. Some residual heat there. But now, if you're coming in for a landing at night and it's in a rural area, for example, you're not going to see anything on the ground. So I'm not too sure what we're going to expect. What's happening down there? And it seemed, I also looked that up, the speed of the space shuttle at landing was about 110 meters per second. So we will go slower than that, but I don't think that's really a thing for us to worry about. It's really that bounce at the end that sort of flips us over. Alright guys, how's it looking in here? You're probably shaking in your boots here. I'm not sure how we're gonna do this. I'm gonna have to F5 this. So we're 10 kilometers up and losing speed like crazy still. I think that's because of the slight deviation of the elevons on the back that I moved during construction. Okay, don't go any further down than that, please. Okay, extend the gears because I need the lights on the gears. There should be lights on those things. Yes, there's one on the front at least. Okay, 2 kilometers. I have no idea what's ahead of us. I can see as little as you can. 2 kilometers. So that looks about sea level actually. Let's just bring ourselves up gently. 800, bring us up, bring us up, bring us up. 500. Alright. We're looking okay. What the heck is happening on the ground here though? I've got to watch the vertical speed and the altitude. Okay, less than 100. Bring us up, bring us up. That was too hard a landing. So we broke off all the wings, but we survived. There goes something. Maybe we could try that again. Alright, so we're still on our way down. The thing was, I pulled up too early last time, and then at the end I did it too late, so never got it right. Bring out the gears, please, and let's hope. That light didn't really help though. This landing at night is really a bad idea. Okay, 6-5. And I also read somewhere that one of the shuttle pilots said the thing was more falling than flying. So I guess this is sort of in line with that. This is not really such an efficient glider. It's more of an efficient faller. But as long as we can have a controlled fall, that's the big thing. Now we're definitely gonna break something, I think. I can pull up quite aggressively here without having it flip, so that shows you we've sort of solved that problem now. Just don't do it too aggressively. Too late. Too late again. Oh man. I do it too early and then I do it too late again. No, 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 no. This is why you always save before landing your shuttle, because the chance of a landing at the space center is sadly very little. Well, I was going for that, but then of course we ran out of fuel. That's the one side effect of removing those baguettes, but we can put fuel up here in these angled adapters still. Maybe half of the fuel. That should be burnt before our re-entry. Otherwise we're undoing the weight thing again. See, I'm doing it too early. Don't do it yet, because then I lose too much airspeed. I think we can do another episode here where we take this on a moon flyby, perhaps. That would be interesting. Because the thing is now, that's quite easy to do. You just have to make sure your OMS is balanced there in terms of its angle. Because we already took a full fuel tank to orbit, so now we can just use that fuel. So that's one thing. Not that specific tank, but if we have another orange tank as a payload. Did I even bother with the gears? Oh, it's useless anyway. F5 this time. Okay, now we won't have to go through the whole thing. 200 meters, 100, go up, go up, go up, go up, go up. 20 meters, 1710, 7 meters. We had a vertical speed of about 7 meters per second, which is actually quite good. We did lose a RCS tank and some batteries, and that's a miracle because it's actually inside the crew hatch, and we lost the nose cone as well. The engines survive, so overall I think it's an okay landing. We didn't blow up the shuttle, just some repair work needed, as you might imagine. If it had to land in the ocean, I think that would have been an absolute disaster in the real world. Anyway, comrades, that's it for this episode. Of course, I'll make the shuttle available again in the Dropbox. Just remember, you're looking for the final version now. And yes, so that's it. It's been an adventure, comrades, but we are still going to use the shuttle to build the ISS and, of course, do some random non-historical adventures as well, like a moon flyby, for example, or even a Minmus landing. That could also work. Let's try that in the next episode. So that's it. Have a fantastic day, comrades, and thank you for your input. It's really helped here.